Trying to write this final introduction for Jesse Palma. His topic stumped me. All of the other speakers' topics gave me great mirth as I carefully plotted my circuitous approach to the subject matter. I gleefully reveled in the thesis that Stefan was a Depression-era bootlegger. The spring in my step was lighter when I envisioned Dante as an evil miscreant. I chortled with smug self-satisfaction in my allegation that Ellen had pointlessly nefarious motives for speaking tonight. But no such joy came when I looked at Jesse's topic. I have had and have no clue what it means. May his talk clarify his title in glorious fashion.
Okay, I'm having a little bit of an anxiety attack right now just because of various reasons. Not because I'm presenting, but that adds to it. So bear with me. But despite that, my talk is basically a journey inside my brain, so I hopefully that's basically the theme. And since the singularity hasn't happened yet, I'm going to have to do it the verbal way, which I'm bad at. But I'm going to start with numbers. So 1, 4, 7, 13, 1. 1, 4, 7, 13, 1. We add them together, we get God. God is divine through Kabbalah. Bear with me. Why 4? Because waves. 4 is min-max, 2 pointed inflections. We have this gives us 4/4 rhythms in music, but also the cross and the cardinal directions. Okay, from 4, we can look at the phases of the moon. We can divide by 4. This gives us about 7 days a week. We can divide the seasons by the year by 4. We get the seasons, 91 days. We take 91, we divide by 7, we get 13. Everyone knows people might know that there's really 12 moons, closer to 12 moons in the year, but if you round first, you get this, right? You also have 7 sins, seals, samurais. I got a lot to go through, so multiply these together, these numbers together, you add 1, you get 365. Kind of the same thing. Other ways of looking at the same thing. Let's be more specific. If you look at the Ramanujan cycle, 19, which is 91 flipped, it breaks into 12 by 12 months, and in 7 years of 13 lunations for 91 lunations. We add those together, we divide all the days, and we get an approximation without leap years of a lunar year calendar that's still used in a lot of cultures today. Right, okay. But it's not just time, it's also space. So we build it hexagonally, 1, 4, 7, 13 to the Star of David. You'll notice if you subtract 1, you get 3. So let's look at that a little more. You may say, then we've skipped something in the middle, the 10, right? 10 fingers, decimals, Sephiroth, or we're missing 10. I don't think so. Let's see why. Okay, number series. Okay, subtract 1, divide by 3. Then you get, the series is 2n to the 3 plus 1. Okay, sure. But what I like better is hexagonal centered, which I was looking at before. That's these numbers, but there's kind of like midpoints. So it's really this, the kind of jagged series here, 1, 4, 7, 13. 19's here, but also 91 inversions of each other. We get 37. We multiply 37 times 18, we get 666. 28 are roughly your month. 49. 49 is interesting because you multiply 7 squared, you multiply 7 again, you have 22 left over in the year. That gives us that 7 cubed plus 7 pi is 365. Also in this series is 364. Interesting. 169, which is actually my favorite number. Here, let's get into that. Oh, we'll come back to this in a second, sorry. You look at the difference between the numbers, you add them up, you get 24 hours in the day. You do some algebra, they all add all these numbers out to each other. You can get the square of 13 with one of each of them, square 7 squared, 4 squared, 12 squared, etc. We take 49, we multiply it by the 4, we get 196, which is 69, 196. Swap and add them together, we get 365. I'll show you 3 different ways of getting 365 from the same set of numbers. Okay. We also have 1 plus 1 plus 4, 6th day of the week, 7, Friday the 13th. Okay, 1, 4, 7 times 13, 91. There's 1491 days between Columbus and Christ because they start with counting with 1s where they should start with 0. Okay, let's look at the calendar. June 1st, 1. The quarter way through the year is, June 1st is quarter way through the year. January 1st, beginning of the year. July 1st is halfway through the year, if you round down. And then 13-1 is the New Year's of the next year. Okay, there's also the body, 20 digits, if you got 713, planets, zodiac, the new zodiac, yada yada yada. Also music, the major fifth is 7 away from the tonic, 4/3 is 4 away from the tonic. Interesting. Okay, that brings me to, let's get a little deeper into this. That was just the surface. 7 times, Ramanujan on his deathbed said his favorite number is, or the great number is 1729, because it's 7 times 13 times 19. Okay, he said it for various different reasons, but that doesn't. Okay, so then comes the Incompleteness Theorem. I don't know if you have one, but I made one up. There's always potential to get another egg from a chicken. And vice versa. That's kind of the way I view the world. So I like generativity, of just making quantity over quality and diversity. I'm interested in languages and interpretation of those languages. It's kind of the way I see the world. My favorite person is actually my mother, who sees things visually, and the world to her is visual, is a visual conversation. So her work is visual conversations between things in the work, or between the viewer and the work, or between an imagined thing and the internal thought. This is the concept of latitude in someone's mind, kind of. So internal conversations. Conversations are deep and persist for a long time, so to really understand them, we actually need a chair to spend time understanding them, because conversations are long. Okay, my favorite band is Tool, and there's lots of numbers there that I can explain, but I'm not going to, that relate. So what is this really about? My talk about, it's about the artifactory of games. Games, I forget this step there, but you should hopefully figure it out. Games are physical, yet interpreted. They can be linguistic, but in the case of the ones I create, they're obsolete, so they're not actually used, whereas language is actually used. So, okay, I started experiencing Mancala as a child, playing a lot of Mancala, and the interesting part about it was, because it's so simple, was that when you change the rules, the game changes. So every time we played it differently. And from that is basically where I built out from more eggs from chickens. Okay. So there was an evolution. I started with some games that, started with some real games, and then I started creating other games, and then that led to 2 kind of major things that I spent my graduate career working on. Okay, one of them is Onorosha, and basically has dualistic time and dualistic space. So the time was basically, during the night rules are created, and during the day actions occur. And also dualistic space, so there's kind of like this things where spirits move through. It's kind of like bishops in chess, where spirits, different colored bishops, where spirits and physical things can't really affect each other directly, but they move between each other. Okay, that was my first major thing. And the other one is Ion Zion, which also sometimes has been called a Japanese vampire in Cairo. And the basic thing is the 18 billion humans on the world, 8 billion humans on the world are the commodity in the game rather than money or some other thing. And you're basically fighting for a Zion you're creating Zion of the humans in the world. And so there's like 1,000 unique cards and 450 humans. For every human type has a unique goal to it individually, and they build up to larger goals that you were trying to create. There's these supernatural creatures that also mix in. There's 196 of them. We saw that number before. They make it to 7 groups, which are based on the 7 sins, which, okay, I won't go too into that, but that's like based on all of sci-fi and fantasy. I tried to create all supernatural things in the world. That's 196 supernatural creatures. Okay, that's it. Now I'm currently working on the beginning of something based on that, which is supposed to create like a visual syntax based on geometry and combine that with the visual semantics. So I'm collecting groups of symbols and combining them with shapes, where the shapes are kind of like parts of speech. And I'm working to that to look at human relationships as a representation of human relationships where you interpret it as a player. Okay, and I'm also working on 3 card games. This one's based on the 365 year. It's the only, I think it's a unique way of doing that, never been done before. The other card games. And then there's other games here, and that's basically it. I could go into more detail. So that's basically the egg of my head, and it was composed in 13, 4, and 7 slides. And there's artifacts in the back that are like all of the games that I've made. So that's it.